Le Nissan Kick-Play 2025 a beaucoup de plus. Apple CarPlay intégré pour jouer vos tunes préférées, des fonctions avancées de sécurité, un rendement énergétique remarquable, puis même la petite odeur de char neuf qu'on aime tant. Tout ça en plus pour moins. Le Nissan Kick Play 2025 est le véhicule neuf le plus abordable au Québec. Achetez-le à partir de seulement 22 774 $, incluant un rabais à l'achat comptant de 2 600 $. Profitez de cette offre avantageuse chez votre concessionnaire dès maintenant. Jusqu'au 2 mars, des conditions s'appliquent. Détails chez Nissan.
When you're looking for answers, he'll ask the right questions. Elias Mackos, CJAD 800.
Dan Laxer in for Elias Mackos. And earlier we were talking about the airlines, went to the phones, and we were talking about how the Canadian Transportation Agency said that, all the airport chaos we've been seeing, and the flight delays and things like that, if they are due to staff and crew shortages, you are entitled to compensation. But then Air Canada and WestJet step up and they go, well, hang on, no, all the staff shortages and crew shortages, those are a safety issue. And if they're a safety issue, then you won't be compensated. And then Vanessa called in and said, what the heck does that even mean? Is there anything you can do if airlines refuse to compensate you for delayed or canceled flights? Anything that we can do to further protect ourselves? And for the answers to these questions, so we welcome Martin Firestone, who is president of Travel Secure Incorporated. He's an insurance broker in travel medical coverage as well. Good morning, Martin. Welcome to the show.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
It's a pleasure. So I'm hoping you can help us sort through this. I mean, it makes sense to me for the transport agency to say, if it's a staffing issue, yeah, you're entitled to compensation. It sounds a little ticklish to me for the airlines to say, oh no, the staffing shortages are a safety issue. The truth is somewhere in between, I would imagine. So
ironically, I think this is actually a classic that the agency that handles the complaints is having a staffing shortage.
Yes.
If you really think about it, how bizarre is that they're also having issues, just like airlines, terminals, restaurants, and everything. So that I thought was a little, I won't call it comical, but how interesting is that?
Yeah.
However, the problem is it is a loophole, I believe, that the airlines are taking advantage of, and that is calling it a safety issue, because under the Air Passenger Rights Law that was instituted in 2019, if it's a safety measure, then you do not have compensation rights, and that's what they're hanging on to right now.
Well, hang on, because you just used a different term. They say safety issue, you said safety measure. Is there?
I'm sorry, I would ultimately say safety issue measures, in the sense that they don't have a crew, they don't have enough staff. They would say that's not very safe, so that's the route we're going to go to avoid upwards of $1,000 per person compensation, significant amount of money.
Absolutely. I mean, talk about how many passengers claim compensation and how many are entitled, and how much of a payout someone like a company like Air Canada or WestJet would have to pay out. Could that break a company?
Absolutely could. And think about it. It was instituted in 2019 when there was no pandemic and no COVID. What was it there for? Do you remember when you get to the airport and the plane is overbooked and they'd either ask you if you want a cash amount or something to that effect, or if they couldn't accommodate you, you went and formed a complaint or filed a complaint, and you went for upwards of $1,000 compensation because your flight was delayed or canceled. They, in their wildest dreams, never imagined that there would be something called COVID, and there would be thousands upon thousands of people that had delayed and canceled flights.
The thing is, though, and, I'd have to sift through a bunch of different, jurisdictions to get to the bottom of this. But what we've been seeing here in Canada is not just unprecedented, but almost seems to be ridiculous. And it almost seems to be, it's easy for me to say, but due to more of a lack of organization than anything. Do you agree?
I agree. And that's why they formed a task force committee that is going to look into it, starting right with the transport minister down to the airlines, to the terminals, to the security, to the baggage, to every single element of travel. Where did it fall apart? What did we do wrong to not be ready for this? And more importantly, how can we avoid anything like this in the future?
Speaking with Martin Firestone of Travel Secure Incorporated, also an insurance broker in travel medical coverage. When an airline says, well, this is a safety issue, I mean, when you fly a plane, you have to have a full cabin crew. There's no two ways about it. So when we see staffing shortages, we're talking about flight attendants, baggage handlers. Martin?
Yeah, I'm here.
So obviously, can they really make the claim that it's a safety issue?
So this is what it boils down to, just for your listeners. There's two things here. Is it in my control or is it out of my control? If it's out of my control, I'm not responsible to pay you compensation. If it is in my control, I am. One will argue that it was in their control to be staffed enough to take advantage of keeping their schedules intact. And there's where everybody's beef is right now. They think the schedule was very aggressive to keep market share, and it couldn't be kept the way it was in lieu of the infrastructure, which had not caught up to the rush in travel.
How is this issue affecting a business like yours?
Well, actually, we are up and higher in sales than we were pre-pandemic. And the reason is, at the end of the day, the pent-up demand and the fact that people haven't traveled in close to 3 years, they are accepting higher prices that they're facing now. They are accepting the frustrations and long lines, and they are continuing to travel more than they ever were before. So from my perspective, everything is absolutely fantastic. We will lose some people who say, I don't want to be part of this. And I worry about the winter season with all these trips that are 7-8 day trips to the sun destinations. If you get held up even one day, that really does affect your 7-day trip. And that's what I think is going to happen. Yeah,
that makes an awful lot of sense. It's not going to affect snowbirds, though.
Not at all. I mean, they leave or drive. That's not going to play a role at all. No, our snowbird scenario is going to be bigger and better than ever because you're getting people that haven't been down to their places in 2 years that are going to go, and they aren't going to be affected. It's those sun destination, 1 week, all-inclusive travel ones that I worry if they get held up or delayed or canceled even for a day or 48 hours, that leaves them 5 days for their trip. That's not much of a trip.
So if we get to a point then where, say, the Canadian Transportation Agency, if they get on top of their work backlog of work and governments and consumers get together, and if they have to do something legally to see to it that more of them, A, are eligible for compensation, and B, get that compensation, would airlines be able to say, okay, fine, we'll compensate passengers who have been inconvenienced, but not $1,000? You got to help us out here.
That's a great question. Now, September 8th, the rules are changing. On September 8th, the airline, whether it's in their control or not in their control, are still responsible for getting you on another flight within 48 hours or putting a full refund, not a credit, not a voucher, a refund back on the card that you used to pay for it. Yeah. So that's a key date as far as them taking on more responsibility than ever before. What happens when all these cases are adjudicated and whether they are responsible or not for the 1,000 for all the summer mayhem? That's a great question, and I don't have an answer for that.
Okay. But all the answers you have had were very helpful. Thank you so much, Martin. I appreciate the time.
Thank you for having me. Take care.
It's a pleasure. That's Martin Firestone. He is president of Travel Secure Incorporated. He's an insurance broker in travel medical coverage. And that's absolutely fascinating. I mean, yeah, the delay, even a 1-day delay could have a huge damper. Could really affect your travel.